Welcome, everybody. We are back.
Bang, bang, bang.
For the Chuuch Live Show. This is episode 8. We're focusing on the injustices of women in prison. And we have some amazing guests today that are going to be joining us. First and foremost, Tara was supposed to guest co-host today, but she had some stuff that she had to deal with. She wasn't able to make it, but big her up. Same way, Project F Word. Big up Kaya Publishing, Fame Supply Co. YYZ, Dime with D, who catered us today with some amazing food. Suey Sauce, Impenetrable Clothing, J420, Kara Productions, and all the amazing people that have been rocking with us on the Chuuch Live Show. But we're just going to get right into it because, you know, this is a serious topic and it needs to be talked about. And our first guest that we have today is Glowz.
Hi.
So, Glowz, first and foremost, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
My name is Glowz. I am a writer. I do art facilitation. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Perfect. And what have you been up to lately?
I've been waiting for my third book to come out.
Ooh. You say we're going on book tour?
Yeah, of
Maybe.
course. How do you mean? Yeah.
I love that. So, getting right back into the topic, you know, what are some of the issues that you feel women face in prison and why?
A lot of assaults.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of mistreatment, medical neglect, suicide.
Yeah.
Drugs. Like, it goes on. Even affects parenthood.
It's very
mental
true.
Help, so.
It's very true. And when it comes to, like, prison programming, do you think women have enough support?
I get a lot of mixed messages. Yeah, like some say that it's okay. A lot of them are like, is not supporting me to actually go back to society.
Why do you think that is?
You know, how much can I say?
Of course. You can say whatever you feel.
You know, I feel like they don't want to see people win.
No.
They don't. They just want to keep them for whatever reason, you know, do your research. So
Yeah.
But it's almost like, how do I say it? Like a Batman Joker thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if I get rid of Joker, what's the point of Batman?
It's facts. And you feel like that's how the system is, right?
Yeah, I'll be real true.
Yeah, that's true. Why do you think the majority of women in prison are indigenous right now?
Residential school survivors.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Because like the 60s scoop, residential schools, the people are still here fighting strong, especially with the, you know, current recent findings. You know, they just want to find a way to put people down.
Yeah.
Just like us black folks too.
That's facts.
Right? So.
Facts. And why do you think women are self-harming so much in prison?
It's a way to like get away. Like when you're confined in the place where like you receive like a lot of hate messages, hate mail, you're fighting every day. You're seeing people break down. You know, can you cry? Right?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
sometimes like it's either you do it to yourself or sometimes you just take it out on others. Either way, you're still getting screwed, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter.
It's true.
But sometimes, you know, maybe society just kind of see everyone who's inside as monsters, but a lot of people have big hearts.
Yeah, it's
And
facts.
sometimes they'll take the anger on themselves so they don't harm others. So
And do you feel like, this is just another question I'm throwing out, do you feel like the lack of support for women causes that? Like with their emotional, mental, physical abuse when they're coming into prison, their addictions, that they take those avenues because they don't know where else to go, like with themselves, in the sense of like abusing themselves and self-harming.
Yeah, because I think until you're actually like diagnosed, you're not even allowed to get help, right?
Yeah.
From what I know, yeah. So unless you're like making a huge scene and having people to actually believe you or actually treat you like, oh, there's something wrong with you, you're not even going to get that therapy. You're not even allowed to request it, right?
Yeah.
So,
and what do you think about when they separate like women from their, like women that are pregnant in prison from their children? Like if you're a mom, how would you deal with that?
It's like, there's a lot. I think it's almost like there's different stages. Like there's a stage where like, you know what, I really don't want my child to see me in this. But then another part of me is like, now you're just ripping me away from that bond I could have with my daughter, with, you know, my children. And when I think about me being a parent to my daughters, like, I'll be honest, like, I'll lose myself, right? Like, even, like, me outside here, and, like, there's times when I work, and sometimes I work overnight, and I'm away from them. It makes me think a lot of stuff. I'm not going to lie to you, right? So, imagine being in a place where, like, you're already in a place where you're fighting just to maintain your mental health. You're fighting for your life. And the one thing that brings you joy, to create a life, and to know that, like, they're going to take it away from you, I feel like it would just break someone down.
For sure.
So,
do you see the flip side of it? Like, you know, people can always play devil advocate and argue that, well, you're going to have your child being born and raised in a prison.
Yeah, like, I can see, like, the intention, but, you know, there's intention, and then there's actually, like, you know, the final say. So, like, I do understand. I do understand where, like, hey, maybe, you know, maybe it's a better choice, but then I don't know. I've seen too many parents that don't have that bond. Yeah. And it puts a lot onto, like, the other parent or the other caregivers. And then, like, in the long run, I see how it affects. But then I also see when a child is watching a parent grow up in the institution, and that also screws them over. So I see, like, so many sides.
Both sides, there is
so
many
I see
different...
both sides. So then it's just, yeah, like, when it comes to this question, it's just, I feel like there should be more discernment. I feel like it shouldn't be, like, a general solution. I feel like at least, like, look into a little bit more.
For sure.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And do you think the Canadian penal system creates dangerous offenders like the one we have in Canada, Renee Ackerby?
Yeah.
Why? Man, that's a long answer.
Where can I start?
her story, like someone that came in the system with a 3.5-year charge of human trafficking. Or, I mean, it's not human trafficking law, geez, Kamala. With trafficking, and then ended up, you know, having I think it was like 15 or 20 year stretch. She just got out on April or something like that.
A lot of my loved ones ended up like that.
Yeah.
They started off with
just a small federal
very
bid.
Small. And then, like, they could have been out. But then now you're dealing with guards who are literally, like, pepper spraying you, rubber bullets, like, you know what I mean? Like,
they're that, or they're, you know, putting you in segregation.
They're putting segregation, and then
institutional charges every minute for foolishness.
And then there's times when you get even red carded, so like now you're segregated in segregation.
That's even worse,
right? Like, you're literally having guards telling like other people not to talk to you.
Yeah.
So now you're alone, and even when we're like sleeping, right? When we're sleeping, like, we think a lot.
And do you think that creates, like we're saying, that creates an animal? It's like if you cage a dog, it's going to come out and bite. You know?
Yeah.
So I totally agree with that. And do you think they properly, our correctional officers are properly able to handle trauma and mental health from women?
Nope.
That the women are dealing with?
No, not at all.
Like, just to follow up with the question, with it being this industry where they make so much money, like they pay their employees, the employees are in there, they have to work for like nothing. Don't you think that mental health should be included in that budget, to have like mental health workers in the institutions? It
should be mandatory. I don't know why it's not mandatory.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Because, like, we're in a society that always advocates for mental health.
Mm-hmm. And the prisons are like the worst conditions that don't have it.
It's like as if
maybe
they don't
like
care.
a psych.
Yeah, they don't care, and it's just like they're gonna come out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like they're gonna come out. What did you like?
Yeah, I hear you.
You know,
do you think male correctional officers should work at the female institutions?
why did they even work in the first place? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Can you please tell me why?
I don't know.
Someone answer me? Anybody in the comments, can you answer? Because I'm trying to figure out all these years. I'm trying to figure out, because
why are they there?
Why are they there? I had someone ribs got cracked because of a male correctional.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. I don't think they should be there either.
They shouldn't. And then there's also other things that happen that,
Yeah, of course. It's the same in reverse. If you put the females in the male, I think it's the same. It's the same shit.
It's the same. Like,
it's the same. And in the case like with Ashley Smith, where mental health is overlooked and not addressed, do you feel the correctional officers are ever held accountable?
they should.
They should be. But are they?
They're not.
No.
They are not. And how are they getting away? Why are they getting away? How can you look at somebody who's crying out for help and literally watch?
Right? Yeah. That was deep. Very deep. Yeah.
Oh, I got a lot of arguments with that. I got a lot of arguments because how are you labeling other people, but the ones who are supposed to be there to support, what's the difference?
It's true.
Right?
That's very true. Do you think that it's going to get any better? If you could actually choose to defund or abolish, what would you choose?
In order for us to go that route, we as a community have to be very strong.
Mm-hmm.
We literally have to research what worked, what didn't work when it came to like the past, like ancestral practices. Mm-hmm. And everyone has to be on the same page. Mm-hmm. Because right now we're still divided. Everyone has their own opinions and everyone thinks theirs is better than others. But when that happens, even though it's good ideas, if it continues to clash, everyone else is going to get affected. Mm-hmm. So I would, of course I wouldn't abolish. Of course, right? but I guess maybe where we at right now, try to defund first. Mm-hmm. Like let's see how it goes, and then gradually work our way to abolish. For sure. Yeah, instead of like rush into it, and then we have like a whole entire
the mess, anarchy.
Yeah, let's try and do that. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming out. And if there's anything else that you would like to say on behalf of the work that you do, what you're up to, feel free. What to look out for? Oh, because I know you always got something to look out for.
I actually have like a mini book club.
Nice.
That's happening next week.
Nice.
Next Monday. Yeah. And if anyone needs community service hours, like let us know. It's only like 9 hours, but hey, it's something else,
That's proper, and it's around the Hood Chronicles.
It's around Hood Chronicles.
Proper.
It's around Hood Chronicles, and come in first day. Let's talk, and I want to build like the stories based on what everyone could benefit from. Mm-hmm. So, and just like to message, like you are loved. There's people who love you. Mm-hmm. Don't let these walls do all the talking, right?
Facts. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you so much.
All right.
Glowz. Bye. And our next guest is Heather, who will be joining us from the live. Heather, send a request. Hey, Heather. I can't hear you. Hello? Can you hear me now? Yeah, I can hear you. How are you? I'm good. How are you today? I'm great. Introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Well, my name's Heather.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a friend of yours,
Yes.
as well as somebody who was in the system for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I haven't been for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess I'm just here to talk about some really important issues that continue to happen in our society, in our different communities.
For sure. So let's just jump right into it. Like, what are some of the issues you feel women face in prison, and why do you think they deal with the issues?
Well, one that you guys touched on specifically was the mental health and addiction issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a vicious cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, in the different jails and penitentiaries, women aren't getting the help that they need, so
Mm-hmm.
they're continuing to come back.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a revolving door, right?
Yes.
How many people have we seen come in and out and in and out?
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed that I'm not one that has returned, but we're all just a few poor decisions from ending up in those situations. So
Very true. And when it comes to prison programming, do you think women's needs are addressed?
I do not. Of course
Why?
not. I think that's where the justice comes from, not the rehabilitation aspect of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important for people to realize that these types of issues happen in the streets, but get compounded if there's when people are being institutionalized and not given the right resources, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally. I totally hear that. So what do you think the majority of women in prison, why do you think the majority of women in prison are indigenous?
Well, one thing that you guys talked about was the institutionalizing, right? Something that's happened from residential schools from long time. I don't think there's the right resources for them sometimes in their communities, in other communities, and they basically get warehoused and institutionalized.
Interesting. Why do you think women are self-harming at an alarming rate?
Desperation, hopelessness, control. A lot of people aren't able to control the environments they're in, so that's something that they can control. And again, lack of resources for the mental health issues.
Totally. And do you think it's right to separate pregnant women from their children if they're being born in prison?
Yes and no. I think that there should be different wings for it. I think it should be on a person-by-person thing. But children shouldn't be allowed in facilities where other women are there for harming children. So I do believe that children need to be protected, sometimes from their own parents, but that's not something that I'm allowed to discuss. I think that's more of a one-on-one issue. And really goes with the woman and what her charges are or what her situation
That's
is.
a really good point, yes, because there are people that are in there for harming children. So that's a really good
I didn't have children when I was in there, so I can't now think about being separated from my child. That would be, the worst thing ever. But in these places are quite dangerous, my dear, and children probably shouldn't always be involved in that, but maybe separate units or wings or resources for women who are pregnant in the system.
I totally hear you. And do you think the Canadian penal system creates dangerous offenders like Renee Ackaby?
Well, you wonder if her charges, if they weren't against correctional officers, would she have been labeled a dangerous offender, If she was just being dangerous towards other inmates, would it have been an issue? Once she was dangerous towards the correctional officers, now she's labeled a dangerous offender. When you treat people with violence and they treat you back with violence, I don't think it's not that surprising or shocking.
And do you feel the correctional officers are trained properly to handle mental health and the trauma of the women that are coming into the institutions?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Absolutely not. These people are trained through force, through penalizing, and we can't do that to people who are having mental health issues. So no, I think they're vastly miseducated and misinformed informed on how to treat and de-escalate those types of situations.
Thank you. And do you think men should work at female prisons?
I personally had more issues with the female guards, personally.
Interesting.
But I know a lot of other women who had sexual misconduct issues, that type of things. So personally, I do not. But when you're in an institution where the laws are written by men, where they are governed by men, it's not, I think a lot has to be done. I'm not quite sure if that would be the answer, but I'm not sure.
In the case of Ashley Smith, do you think mental health is overlooked and not addressed? And do you feel the correctional officers are being held accountable?
Well, for the first part, no, I don't think, they're not trained in those types of aspects. It sounds like she probably should have been in institution for people who are experiencing that. Do I think that the people were held accountable? Absolutely not. We saw what happened. People stood around and watched her kill herself. That is, how can you be held accountable for that? So no, I don't think they've been held accountable for that. Didn't
the warden end up getting fired?
I'm not sure about the specifics, but I knew it took a long time.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was immediate, and even if the warden was fired, was that the person who are the people who were working that night still?
Yeah, because I can't remember if the officers, anything happened with the correctional officers. I'm not sure. Right. If you had to choose, would you defund or abolish prisons?
The justice system as an entirety?
All of it.
It's hard to say, girl. We don't want to live in a society where there's complete anarchy, Definitely changes have to be made, but I'm not sure if the abolishment of these issues would help, but certainly things need to be done. Certainly things need to change, and we have to have people who listen to those voices,
For sure. Well, I want to thank you so much, Heather. If there's anything that you would like to say?
No, I just want to thank you so much for including me on such an important topic. And bye.
Bye. Take care. Thank you for joining us. Take care, Heather. Bye. And our next guest is the amazing Linsday Jennings. So, hi, Linsday. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell everybody the amazing work that you do.
Oh, my gosh. So, I am Linsday, and I am one of the co-founders and core organizers of Toronto Prisoners' Rights Project.
And what's that about? What do you guys do?
Well, we started when COVID hit, and we basically became a collective mutual aid, where we started the first ever prisoner emergency support fund, where we supply $225 to folks that are currently incarcerated, or getting released.
Nice.
And then this was actually Toronto Prisoners' Rights Project is my introduction to abolition. I would have put myself as a reformist, still kind of balanced between reformist and abolitionist right now. And I think, we talked a lot about this. Some people have opinions around we can't just dismantle everything and free them all and just let everybody out, right? Like, it would be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So in order to achieve abolishment, we're going to have to go through reformist changes, right? Those
Very true.
changes. And so defunding would be the start.
Very
defunding,
true.
It doesn't mean, I think that people think that defunding, we're just going to take all the money. But $500 million was designated towards, was put towards provincial correctional systems, right?
Yes.
That's $500 million.
Yes.
That's a lot of money that we as a community could definitely use, right? $500 million is used to cover up things that happen inside.
Yes, it's so true.
$500 million is used to hire more correctional officers. $500 million is not going towards housing. It's not going towards mental health and substance use issues. It's not going towards any sort of therapy for trauma, generational trauma. And so I really think that by starting to defund and Toronto Prisoners' Rights Project, we are coming out with a big report, which is the 500 possibilities, which is in response to the $500 million. So we came up with 500 ideas that would be way better to put the money into than by putting it back into the correctional system.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing work you guys are doing. So let's get right into this.
Sounds
what
good.
do you feel the issues are women face in prison and why?
I'm going to start with trauma. From the very beginning, early childhood trauma, domestic violence, substance use. Trauma changes the brain. Yeah. Right? Not just that, a lot of my personal experience of being inside, it was around survival. I was on the street. I was homeless. I had nothing. I was eating at soup kitchens. I was bouncing from couch to couch. And so when you're left to survival, you have to make choices. Like I needed a winter jacket. So when I went and stole my wardrobe from Zellers, which was like way back.
To Zellers.
Just like petty things like that. And then the breaches came, just like no contact orders, not being at certain addresses. My first drug charge was a 0.6 of marijuana.
Wow.
Right? Something that's legal now.
And we're legal now.
Right?
Can you believe that shit?
It's
crazy.
So I think there's circumstances to people's lives that lead them to the choices that they have to make, right? And I can only really speak for myself, but I was just in dire straits. I was lost. I felt abandoned from my family. And so you turn to drugs to survive on the street. You got to stay warm on those winter nights too, right?
I totally hear that.
And
thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no worries. And so I think women also, I might get a lot of fire from this in the comments, but women also take a lot of charges for their partners. A lot of women inside that are in there taking charges because the plan is that women will get less time than the man. And so just coming across a lot of women when I was inside that were in there protecting other people. And so I think those are circumstances too. But, I mean, things have also changed so much from like 10 years when I was in 10 years ago to now. We have recruiting happening from inside with women.
When you say recruiting, for people that don't know what you're talking about.
Into human trafficking.
Yeah.
So that we have women inside that will recruit and groom women inside and get them prepared for when they're getting released, and have people waiting for them when they get released because they have nothing. And then they just jump back into that cycle.
Drop back into the game.
Actually, disappear. Actually, I would like to change that word, disappear into that cycle. So I also think there's a lot more violence. I think there's a lot more angrier women.
Interesting.
Now.
And why do you think the majority of the women in prison right now are Indigenous?
Trauma, generational trauma, substance use. It's also, like, our data is even showing that Indigenous women are being charged with heavier charges and longer sentences. Again, that's violence. Violence comes from fear, comes from trauma. It's buried somewhere in there. It's not that you're not just born. We're not born to be violent. We're not born to go to jail like that. That wasn't our intentions coming into this world, right? Like, you just got to play the hand that you're dealt with, unfortunately. And those decisions are not always going to be the greatest. But I really do believe that, like, the residential schooling, the 60s scoop, generational trauma, substance use is again, fear, right? It's fear-based. And so a lot of Indigenous women, and I don't want to speak fully for all Indigenous women, but those would be my ideas.
And do you think it's right to separate women who are pregnant from their children in prison?
No, I would not. We have programs. The states have programs There's programs all over the world where they keep the babies with the mom and the bonding experience. Like, I'm not a mom, so again, I'm not qualified to answer that fully. But, you know, I couldn't even imagine what the feelings you would have of having a child and then the child being taken away from you and then you're left in a cell. And I think that that's what people really need to understand is, like, when you're kind of processing and when you're sitting inside those cells, like, you're really just staring at cement walls, just ruminating over every single situation, over your case,
24 hours,
over the asshole officer, you know, and so you don't have any outlets. You have no outlets whatsoever.
Yeah.
And that makes you crazy.
And to follow that up, why one of the reasons you think a lot of women self-harm at an alarming rate?
You know, I think Heather spoke earlier about it. I think this idea of around control, you know, that's a trauma response as well.
Yeah.
I don't think we talk enough about trauma, and I don't think people really understand trauma and how much it changes the actual structure of your brain. And so
neurologically, it does.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to retrain your brain how to take your memories back and how to figure out the rational and the irrational part. And so I think that the hormones, I think that what you would be going through after having a child and then having that process of the baby taken away, bonding is scientifically proven to increase chances of healthy development for babies, right?
It's so true.
And so just off of scientific data, why would we not honor that?
It's so true. It's so true. And do you think correctional officers are trained properly to handle mental health and trauma?
You mean the 3.5-hour mental health training they get?
Call it out.
No, I definitely do not think that. I don't even think that they're prepared when they take the job.
No, because they experience trauma. Like, I'm sure a lot of those correctional officers, not trying to defend anybody, experience trauma, especially with the COVID. Like, how do you handle?
But not even that. You work in a jail.
Yeah.
You see suicides.
That's right.
You see murders.
That's right.
You see drug use. You see horrible things inside. You basically are a first responder. Well, that's if they responded, right? They are supposed to be first responders.
There you go.
Inside the correctional system. But, you know, Sean Spalding died. Maplehurst, screaming for his life. Nobody responded, right? We've seen a lot of folks, Yusuf Fakiri, his brother Solomon, you know, this goes up to one of your follow-up questions about, do officers get punished? You know, Yusuf Fakiri, his brother Solomon, was experiencing a schizophrenic crisis, was sent to Central East, was attacked by a bunch of officers. It's taken 5 years, 3 corners, to overturn the charges that the Ottawa police,
ridiculous.
and the reason why is their statement is because they didn't know what fatal blow came from who, so they couldn't charge anybody.
Wow.
Right? Like, we have London jail, 19 deaths in 10 years.
Yeah, I've seen them protesting, everybody protesting outside.
It's wild
of the London
down
jail.
there
They
right
keep
now. It's
dying.
wild down there. You know, and nothing's done.
Nothing.
Human Rights Tribunal has said, shut that jail down. It's still open. People are still dying, and you can't get money.
Yep.
If you ever want to watch how corrections treats the dead, go to the public inquests. It's all about the money. They have the lawyers. They protect the information. I can say this publicly because they're public inquests.
Yeah.
But I've never, like, that's where I actually lost all my faith in any sort of rehabilitation, was those public inquests.
Wow. And do you think the Canadian penal system creates dangerous offenders like Renee Ackby?
Yeah.
And why?
Not even Renee. Like, it's very interesting. My first response about her taking correctional officers hostage, I felt like, what did they do? They must have done something to her, right? Like, it's not a normal situation for folks inside to attack officers. What would happen is if they were bullying, if they were instigating, if they created and they started the violence themselves, whether it be verbal or physical.
Especially with women. Women are not that aggressive to just want to jump up and attack guards. No.
Not like that.
No.
Not like that at all. And, you know, it's very unfortunate. But again, Heather said if she was attacking other folks inside, she probably wouldn't be labeled a dangerous offender. And it's so true, right? You know, but this also speaks a lot to even people coming out in federal, like doing so much time. I worked in a halfway house for 3 months. It was a mutual parting, but definitely. But one of the famous breaches is bad attitude. And I was like, they just came out after 20 years. I'd have a bad attitude too, right? Like there's certain things.
You're institutionalized, and you have to figure out how to get back into your life. And your life just basically stopped for 20 years.
It really does.
It stops.
It does. You come out, like I have a bunch of folks I'm working with now coming out after 30, 35 years. Have to teach them how to turn a phone on. Computer, email. Resume. It's just basics, things that we take for granted, you know, and even through COVID, what was the thing at the beginning of COVID that we're now all experiencing prison life during COVID, our lockdown.
And I'm like, what? You're in your house, bro. Like, how are you experiencing prison life?
Right? That you
like, no walk.
No, for sure. It's definitely, I think that the correctional system perpetuates, creates a lot of hurt people. Yeah. Originally hurt, and then going into this space of a correctional system, you're coming out hurt no matter what. And sometimes it's not instant. You know, it took a good 5-6 years for some of my PTSD to come forward.
Same.
Right? Like, and even COVID, all of a sudden, there were certain things that came up for me about being locked in my house or not being able to, like, have the freedom that I've come to appreciate. And then there's, like, just anxiety of, like, okay, I'm actually not free in this place. And now with vaccinations, like, you really aren't free.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you end up having to return into that system, it's like you wild out, like you just want to lash on everything. I know for me that was my experience. I wanted to lash on every fucking thing and every fucking buddy when I went back, and I was like, you're so angry at yourself, you're so angry at life, you're just wilding at everybody and everything because you're back in that cage. You know what I mean? And then you have the guards that I'm looking down and talking to you like you're a piece of shit, and it's just like, you know? So I can imagine the women with PTSD and trauma that they're experiencing from those situations, you know?
That's abuse.
Yeah.
When you look at the definitions of abuse, when we talk about domestic violence, emotional, mental abuse, what you get inside, that's exactly what you're getting.
Yeah, it's facts.
You're not getting any rehabilitation. Even the therapists there, they're abusive.
Oh, the psych? Don't even talk about them foolishness. So in the cases of like Ashley Smith, where mental health is overlooked and addressed and not addressed, do you feel like the correctional officers are being held accountable?
No.
Why?
It shouldn't take us 5 years, and you shouldn't have to release a statement saying we're not going to charge any correctional officer because we don't know what punch killed this man.
And the same with Ashley, where they watched her die on the ground in Zeg.
They killed her.
Yeah.
They killed her.
Yeah.
Brandon Marchand, latest guy that was allegedly murdered at London jail just in July. He went in. He was in a car accident. He went in there. He was in ICU. They transferred him from ICU, the hospital, to the jail, to London jail. He asked for a shower. They wouldn't let him shower. Asked for a towel. They wouldn't give him a towel. He said, "Fuck you," and they jumped him. 6 or 7 officers went in, and he's dead.
Wow.
Right? And so it's not, they don't get held accountable. We've had 30 years of recommendations, 30 years of public coroner's inquests, never any charges laid against correctional staff.
Well, I want to thank you so much. We just got real deep there.
I know.
But yeah, I want to thank you so much.
It's heavy, though. It's heavy because it's important to talk about, though, right? Like, we have opportunity to have memorials and funerals. When people die inside, you're caught up in court cases on how to get their body, how to get their money, how to, you know, just put them to peace. And that's a problem. And so, yeah, sorry to take it.
No, man, it's all right.
It's very, very.
I see you're very passionate about your work, and honestly, we need more people out here advocating. So I want to thank you for taking the time to come out today and I really appreciate you. And it was nice meeting you.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, and keep doing the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Blessings. Take care. Bye. And we have our next amazing guest. If you don't know about Baadass Bukk, you're sleeping. OG status, lavish. Make sure you follow her up. I'm just going to introduce her right away. I'm going to introduce her and get her on right away. This is Baadass Bukk. How you doing?
I'm doing good. What's going on?
Finally get to see you on an interview to chop it up.
Super long overdue.
So how you doing today? Tell the people who you are, what you do, what you've been up to. I know you got some new singles and all that greatness.
Hey guys, my name is Baadass Bukk. Can you guys hear me right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I'm one of the first female artists from Jane and Finch. What did I start off with? I started off with the Jane and Finch Cypher in 2011. And like I just been doing my thing ever since, you know. I consider myself like an underground female rapper. What did I do this year? This year I dropped 2 singles. I dropped OG Status and I dropped Lavish. I got a lot in store for the future. Working on a tape. Oh, thank you. Cheers.
Yes, cheers up.
You know, working on a tape while building low key. You know
Yeah,
what
of
I'm trying to
course.
say?
Of course. So, like, I know this topic is something that's real deep, and that's why I wanted to bring you out and just hear your perspective, especially from somebody that's in the music industry. You know, a lot of rappers, they get in the game, they're in the game, they go in and out of prison. So it's really good to hear from somebody from your perspective of what you think about these type of issues, especially around women.
For sure.
Yeah. So when it comes to like issues, what are some of the issues you feel women face in prison, and why do you think they're facing them?
This is my topic today, I tell you that much. Like, this got me so excited. I feel like this topic is not talked about enough. I feel like this shit is real.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, there's really women that are really suffering in the system just as much as men are.
Yeah.
It's not really being talked about as much because we're females. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like in terms of things that us as women, like me personally, I've been in the system before.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many things that we face. It's like so many things that we're lacking. We're lacking resources. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, a lot of women, they suffer from like mental health issues. You know what I mean? Just substance abuse. And it's like you go in jails. When you go in there, automatically it's like, okay, you're put in a room with all these females who suffering from these mental issues, from drug issues, and you're put in the same room as these females.
Yep.
And it's like right off the bat, it's like
War.
you're forced in a situation where it's
War.
like, you feel me? It's like, I feel like I'm normal. Like, I'm not saying ain't nothing wrong, but I'm just saying, like, I don't go through mental health issues, you know? And it's like, I'm here in a room full of these type of women. So already it makes you feel like your back is against the wall. You're in a position. You know what I'm trying to
for
say?
you to fail, because if you react to something where they shouldn't even be in the same space
That's
with
what I'm
you.
saying. So it makes you feel like, what am I doing in this room? This is not, jail is not the place to be. Like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. Like, let me get my punishment. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, not like this. So anyways, I feel like that's the issue. I also feel like, you know, women go through a lot of discrimination, especially based on skin color.
Yeah, facts.
Based on of who you know.
Yeah, it's
like
facts.
if you're connected.
It's facts.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta know, kind of like know how to play the game. There's a lot of issues. I just feel like as women, period, like
we get the shittier end of the stick.
Yeah.
It's starting to change though.
Pardon me?
It's changing.
You think so?
I think a lot of women are rising. We're rising. We're moving. You know.
Yeah, I could hear that.
Yeah. People like you know. So when it comes to prison programming, like, do you think the women like needs? I know when I was in there, no, there was no programming. Men have all kind of programming going on. They have this that. When you're in there, do you think there's programming?
Not at all. Like, I feel like it's like more like a daycare. Like, program to do what? Like, I mean, they got your church, your chapel, you got your basics, but I mean, in terms of the real issues that women are going through and facing, what programs are there that are helping them while they're facing their time?
They don't have a 2 hairdressing class.
You know,
and a look. I think it's not even. I
can learn how to braid hair on range. I don't need to go to a class for that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I just feel like it's just like, And especially how they have the program set up. It's like, you got to go in there, you go in your cell, you fall asleep, you have to sleep, stay in your cell how many times a day. So it's like they're forcing you to be on a program where you're just lazy, you're tired.
That's
ain't
right.
Nothing really.
And then eventually you just resent it and you're like, I'm not doing that.
Exactly. I'm not doing nothing. I don't want to get up and go to program.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't really feel like they have a lot of those things.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to up their game with that because they're lacking in terms of that.
Facts.
Yeah.
And what do you think the majority... Oh, no, sorry. And why do you think the women are self-harming, like, at such a large rate right now? When they're inside, like, you see a lot of women cutting, women trying to commit suicide.
Definitely lack of support, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Because you got some women that are in there and they can't even make a phone call. They don't got nobody to call. They don't got one visit. They might have kids. They might have partners. Maybe them and their partner got charged together. They're co-accused. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's just lack of support. You in there, your back is against the wall. You know, especially if you're like somebody that's not really built for that. I don't feel like any woman should be built for that mentally. But I mean, like, especially if you're not someone that's built for that. So you're in there going into these situations with your back against the wall, forced to like survive. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like when you go on range and you're in front of everybody, you're not gonna feel like you want to crack or whatever the case is. You're gonna game face on 24/7.
Straight.
You know what I'm saying? But then the only time you got to yourself is when you go back to your cell.
That's
or
right.
if your cellmate's sleeping. You get what I mean?
Yo.
And that's the real.
Facts. It's facts.
Yeah.
And do you think it's right to separate women who are pregnant from their children in prison?
Listen, trauma capitals. No, I don't think that's right at all. Because me, I'm gonna be honest. Like me, I grew up in the system. My mom was in the system growing up. Like majority of my childhood pictures are of me visiting my mother in the pen. You feel me? Like I used to be like, I'm going to my mom's house. You know what I'm saying? And like it's like, even like it's crazy. I can laugh about it. But it's like I've been in jail before and locked up before in the same jail as that's my mom's been. Because my mom's been in the system, you know what I'm trying to say? I've been in the same jail that my mom's been in, the same cell that my mom's been in.
Fuck.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like I've been there and I feel like, and I feel like instead of like, you know, you grow up and you be like, yo, I ain't gonna walk in the same footsteps, but it is what it is. So it's like, as a child growing up, experiencing those things, it's like when it was my time, it's like I'm prepared. And it sounds so messed up. Sounds
like it's a cycle.
Yeah, it's a cycle. You don't realize it's a cycle, but it's a cycle. So I feel like in terms of like women getting separated from their children, I think it's so wrong.
Yeah.
Like if they have like sources to like give different type of resources for different type of stuff, why can't they do it for women and children?
That's facts.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
I totally
like
agree.
They don't realize that they're growing up their kids in another cycle. And they think that, oh, your mom was bad, she knew better, whatever the case is, she got to deal with this punishment. But they don't realize that right then and here you have this innocent baby, and this baby's going through the same trauma. And it's a cycle. And
it's going to be the same shit.
Exactly.
Do you think the Canadian penal system creates dangerous offenders like Renee Ackaby, the one who's the #1 dangerous offender in Canada right now?
Oh, wasn't she the first lady or something like that?
She's like the indigenous one, yeah. And she came in with like 3.5 for trafficking and ended up spending like I think the next 15 to 20 years because she was attacking guards and doing everything. They dealed her.
For sure. Like, could you imagine the stuff that she had to deal with in there? Like, the system don't realize that they're already creating monsters.
Yeah.
You understand? She came in there, what, 3.5? What? That's crazy. And she said 20 years for 3.5 when there's people out here raping people and killing people. Like, that's just a waste of a cell.
The adjustment.
So for sure, 100%, I feel like it's so unnecessary. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, what are you doing? You know? So I definitely feel like they're responsible for a lot of stuff because it's like they don't understand the trauma that they're facing already. You're in there for 20 years for something that's little. It's baby food. You know what I'm trying to say?
Straight.
And then you got to sit in there and thug it out.
Yeah.
And you can't be rude. You can't do certain things. Like, they expect you to just be hasadidi and kiki all the time.
And it's like they're creating animals. Because
they really are.
It's like you're putting people, and if you put people in segregation constantly over and over, Like, honestly, it fucks with your mental health. Like, it really does.
100%. Like, we're in COVID right now where some people kill themselves for being
jumping
in quarantine.
Off bridge. Yep, just for being in quarantine.
And mind you, you still have your own keys to your apartment or whatever the case. And
you could still go to the grocery store. You could still buy a juice. Like,
you know what I'm trying to say? But in jail, you can't do none of that.
No.
And women are still surviving through it.
Heavy. And do you think the correctional officers are trained properly to handle mental health and trauma?
Definitely not. Because at the end of the day, they go to school to do their job. You understand what I'm trying to say? They're not trained to be psychologists or nothing like that. Their job is to be correctional officers. So when they leave their house and they come to their work, they're just doing their job at the moment. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's like they're not trained to do anything else but do their job. So I feel like, especially like being experienced, being in there and stuff, like they don't care. They look at you and they'll laugh at you, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
it's facts, and they do.
They really do.
They
like,
do.
They'll say their racist comments. They'll say the little things and stuff. And the minute you say something, you're the one that's, you know what I'm saying, getting in trouble. Because, like, you know how it goes already.
Yeah, of
like,
course.
You know, power corrupts. You know what I mean?
Straight.
But they're not. They don't care to. I mean, don't get it twisted. There's a couple
like a 1-2-1-2 like that have a little compassion.
Like shout out Miss Stacy. You know what I'm saying, from Bonnie. I have to shout out Miss Stacy because she's a real one. And if you know how to play the game, Miss Stacy got your back. You feel me?
100.
But there's a couple that have passion. You know what I'm trying to say? Are passionate towards what they do, and then unfortunately we have the ones that they don't care. It's just the job. Give me my money.
Straight.
You know what I'm saying.
And do you think men should work at female prisons?
Why not? Well, I don't.
That's a different answer. Interesting. Why do you think so?
Because why do women need to be around women? First of all, I don't think, me personally, it's not healthy to be around women all day, every day.
I love it.
Like, no. Like, you guys know. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I do. I know how it goes. I get it. You want to see some man them coming in there?
I'm talking about, it's deeper than that shit too. It's like everybody's in sync. Like, could you imagine the whole range getting? I'm sorry, y'all, but it's the truth. Can you imagine the whole range getting their period at the same time? Oh, when you're around women, you guys
got the energy.
You feel me?
Facts, the energy, it flows.
And then there's PMSing and all this,
and
bitching.
Everyone's wilding out. I didn't even look at that perspective.
No,
it's facts.
I don't. I feel like, me personally, it's like, why not? Like, why not?
You're saying that like it balances out the energy.
Yeah, 100%. You need that male figure to kind of feel like, you know what I'm saying, that masculine energy to
I love it.
You know what I mean? Yeah. No, like, I don't think it's a problem.
For real. And in cases like Ashley Smith, where mental health is overlooked and not addressed, do you feel correctional officers are being held accountable? Like where they watched her die on the prison floor?
Oh, that was okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie though, I don't really know too much about it.
I'm gonna tell you. So she basically, there were 6. It was at Grand Valley, and there were 6
at Grand Valley up here
in Kitchener. Grand Valley, wow. And it was in 2007, I think. And what happened was,
she was 18.
Yes.
Okay.
That's her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they watched her die. Okay. Lana Grattan, who got fired, and the other 6 correctional officers.
Why would they watch her die? And they have so much.
She was in SEG, and they laughed at her on the camera.
You know what I'm saying? That's exactly the shit that I'm talking about. They're looking at this girl like, yo, she's just crazy. She's mental or whatever the case. She's having an episode, but they don't realize that this shit is real until real shit hits the fan.
Facts.
So in terms of them being held accountable, I don't think they ever will.
No.
Because it's just how the system is set up.
Straight.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to be protected by all means necessary. Instead of before anything else, they're gonna look at the victim as like she deserved it. They're gonna look into things that she's done in her past and certain things that added up to and
then they're gonna put her down and label her as that.
And that's just it. It's fucked up.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying?
So if you could right now defund or abolish, what would you do? The whole system. I'm talking the courts, the prisons, all of it. Would you crush it or would you defund it?
Honestly, if the real me wants to say I'll just crush it, like forget all y'all, free everybody. Listen, you know? That's the real me wants to say. But in all actuality, I feel like defunding it will help a lot if they put more money into certain programs to like help. Like I think like certain places in the cities doing, like certain places in Canada's doing, like I know for example like Thunder Bay, they got programs where it's like when people get incarcerated or even drug addicts, whatever, they have something where the system funds them to like live, where it's like where it's like them people, like it's like they don't
when they come out,
they're good, they're situated, they're you know what I'm trying to say. So I feel like it's like if there was a little more programs like that really help people with real life, then
that's kind of like what they do. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because that's kind of like, I think they do it in Switzerland, or it's Switzerland or it's Netherlands, where they have the prison where people are like living like free, and they work on cars and they get paid proper money. So it like makes basically their crime rate is like next to nothing. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, everybody's like being
taken care of. That's right. They're rehabilitating them properly. They're not just isolating them as monsters.
Saying. Like I feel like if they treated people like human beings, they'll act like human beings. If you treat them like animals and like they ain't shit, what do you expect? Like, you know what I'm saying? I come from a Jamaican background, Bayesian background, and they say like, yo, you gotta watch your tongue. You can't curse people. Like, you know, they say like parents curse their kids. You can't do that stuff because like you really cursing your kids. So it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? You're in the system. You're looking at this person. You see on their record, oh, they're in here for theft. Oh, you're a thief. They want you see. It's facts. You see the correctional officers. I dead ass. You see the correct. They walk in the morning. Good morning, thieves. Like, who are you talking to?
Facts.
Like, you get what I'm trying to say?
It's facts. They do it.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know.
Or they come with the, oh, you'll be fucking back.
Yeah.
We'll see you.
How dare you curse me and tell me I'm coming back?
You'll be fucking back. We'll see you again.
I'm telling you, it's bad. It's not good. You know?
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much. Honestly, it was amazing to have you and to actually see you out doing an interview, because I know like, you're I didn't even low key.
Super low key. I can't say the last time I did an interview, I was so excited to do this one because I'm like, this is my topic. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I know so many women that's in jail, that's incarcerated, and like shit. When I was in there, it's like like I said, you're forced to like survive. So it's like you go in there. Okay, I know I'm not coming home. I gotta thug this out. You know what I'm saying? I'm in there for like 4 months. That's nothing compared to women that I see every day that's been in here for 4 years.
Yeah, it's facts.
That's in here for a murder charge and they gotta go to trial.
Or if, you know what I'm saying? If you hit the pen and you see women like, oh, I'm just on a life, 25 years, and I'm looking at them like what? What are you talking about?
You know what I mean? So,
and it's not even to laugh. It's just like, holy, like that's some severe.
And it's like you watch these women that's like, damn, like I'm telling you, that shit creates soldiers. You watch these women they're so strong. It's like, okay, I got 10 to life. That's soft because I could have got 25.
That's right. And they rub it.
So who am I to complain? You get what I'm trying to say?
It's facts. It's facts.
So I just want to shout out to all the women in the system. Free up.
Free up. Free up everybody in the system and just let everybody know where they can find you and all that good stuff.
You guys follow me on Instagram, YouTube at Baadass Bukk. That's BADASSBUKK.
And loving. Make sure you check out her singles on Spotify and iTunes. All that OG status, lavish, all that great, good.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Big up, man. Love it. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to end the show now. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. Season 3, episode 8, Chuuch live show. Bye, Buck. And thank you to everybody. Peace out.